everybody, welcome back to the Jodo Cast, your home for Star Wars gaming. I'm Joe, and joining me this time, we got Leo.
Howdy.
And we got Kurt.
Hey.
And joining us again, we've got Ryan.
Hello.
If you may remember Ryan from our episode about the planetary qualifier back in January. Ryan's a big deal Star Wars card man. So he's here to talk about what we're talking about later, which is the Star Wars Unlimited Galactic Championship. But first, just want to give a huge thank you to our members on Patreon and our YouTube members. Your support means a lot. We don't get to do what we do without you saying, "Hey, that was cool. Here's $1." So thanks for that. We're not going to talk about what we've been playing, because what we've been playing is Star Wars Unlimited, I assume.
I mean,
Kurt might have been playing something else. Kurt wasn't there.
I did some stuff while you guys were on vacation. So,
all right, Kurt, 30 seconds. What have you been playing?
I actually got a Star Wars video game to work. Listeners might remember that I've tried to play Star Wars video games and none of them work on my computer, like even ones that used to work. But I reinstalled one of them and got it to work, and that game was Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It definitely still has technical issues, but I was able to go in and play. Started a new game, not New Game Plus, but I did the thing that switches out some of the encounters for like different creatures and stuff. So it's like, okay, I'm playing slightly different. I'm re-unlocking stuff. That's kind of been fun. It's fun to like dink around on Kobo a little bit. I think hopefully that was 30 seconds. So yeah,
cool. You're over, so we will cut that all from the episode. Okay, so everybody here except Kurt was at the Star Wars Unlimited Galactic Championship in Las Vegas. And before we get to what happened at the event, let's just start with a little fun story of getting to the event.
Trying to get to the event. I actually here.
Yeah, so I'll start with mine.
I was going to say before we get into anything with it, just because I know sometimes when we do these episodes where we start going over this stuff, we can sometimes have a tendency to focus on the negatives because that's the stuff that generates conversation. But I do want to start out by saying that I really did have a blast at the event, and there was problems
and an initiative and a plan.
Yes, there
Twin Sons reference.
There definitely was problems with the event. Ones that a lot of them are ones I feel like Fantasy Flight can fix, but overall I had a really great time. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear from the beginning, that even if we have some end up venting frustrations over what didn't go so well, most everything did go well, and it was overall a really great time.
Yes.
I think another thing we should establish right away, too, for people who can't keep track of which event is which thing, because the names don't make any sense to me or to people who aren't playing the game. But Galactic is the equivalent of Worlds, or for a normal game.
Yeah. Only now,
the highest level.
Yes, only now aliens, extraterrestrials can participate because it's bigger than Worlds.
Well, I assume they like Worlds is planetary, right? Galactic is the highest level of competition, and they are just named after basically if you're on your little planet zooming out. So you got your planetary, zoom out a little farther, you've got a region, zoom a little farther, that's a sector, zoom out a little farther, that's the whole galaxy. I think that's how they
basically.
I think you have sector and regional switched.
No,
but yes,
no,
I think
it's planetary, sector, regional.
Oh, okay.
Galactic.
I said it
wrong.
Oh,
did he? I wasn't paying it.
A region is broken into sectors, not the other way around.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And there's no universal. There's no like universal champion either.
Well, eventually they might have to have that if we expand to the galaxy that Thrawn was hanging out in, because that is the second ever galaxy in Star Wars. So
Mm-hmm.
we
Well,
might have to go beyond galactics
third.
eventually.
I mean, the Yuzong Vong came from another galaxy also, so not canon. I know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
I'm
what the
gonna-
event was. Basically, the World Championships, and it was in Las Vegas, and you had to qualify to participate in the main
No,
event. But there
you
was
did not.
also
No,
Not this year.
no, just
you
to,
let any old schmuck off the
Okay.
street
Yeah,
join.
every
that
year
one.
going
This
forward
time.
now, you are going to have to qualify to participate in the main tournament. But this year was open registration. Um, yeah.
or you could go and just do side events because there were other things going on
Yep.
besides.
Right.
The
Yep.
So in future years, even though like next year you have to qualify for entrance into the main event, you'll still want to go and like play in the side events and do all the fun things, because it's basically like a con, with a much heavier emphasis on space to play games as opposed to like vendors and stuff. So everything kicked off on Friday, and I'll just say I took Thursday off work, even though my flight wasn't until Friday. Had a nice, relaxing Thursday, and then went to the airport on Friday, and then got into Vegas on Friday. And that's all there is to say about my travels. What about Ryan and Leo?
And I do
That
think
was
I'll
really
say-
awesome.
Yeah.
I do think it makes sense to have the day off first to like sort of meditate and prepare yourself mentally for competition, right?
I wasn't competing.
Well, even inside events.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. Well, I guess we'll get there. But
Yeah.
Leo, Ryan, tell
Yeah,
us,
we-
tell us about your Thursday, because you guys were going to arrive earlier because you were both competing in the main thing.
Yeah. We both tried to leave on Friday. We carpooled together. And we're leaving Fargo. We were driving down to Minneapolis, which is like a 4-hour drive, 3.5, just because it was cheaper to drive and fly than fly directly out of Fargo. Problems start when there's a big, huge board across the lane in the interstate on our way there, and there's no shoulder on my. I'm in the left lane. There's no shoulder on my left side to pull off to. It's just there's a fence right there, and on my right side is this big old semi. So I can't swerve to avoid this at all. We end up running over it. Long story short, blew a tire. Had to replace all my tires. That cost me $1,000. But we still made it to the cities on time. We got to the airport on time, except our flight had been delayed an hour and a half. So
Well, we dropped the car off at a repair place.
yeah, and we were so I was
Tires
able to drop the car off, have them start replacing the tires. Throw away $1,000.
Got to our shuttle at least.
Yeah, I mean, the repair place was nice. Those guys were cool. And then we're at the airport waiting around, and they cancel our flight. Just straight up canceled it. Well, or I should say they delayed it for 24 hours because of staffing issues. They just literally had nobody to fly the plane.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a
Interesting.
delayed 24 hours. It was delayed to within 24 hours. So they couldn't tell us when it was or if it was actually going to happen, which is the worst
Yeah.
part. Like, I just need to know when it is or if it's going to happen,
Yeah.
which, of course, at this point, they've lost our trust.
Yeah, exactly. And we're like panicking, searching around, trying to find flights still on Thursday to get to Vegas, so we can be there to start for the start of the event on Friday. Not as important for
We even
not as important.
we even ran into one of our semi-locals that we ended up meeting up and saying, "Hey, you don't have a plan either anymore.
Yeah,
What are you going to
yeah,
do?"
another guy who was going to who was going to the event was on our flight that we knew, and yeah, but we couldn't find anything. Like everything was either already full or was going to cost like over $1,000 for the flight, which is just too much. It worked. I mean, Ryan, you were lucky. You had your day one buy, so it didn't affect you. But me and the other guy that we knew, we were both just open registration in the main event, which means we were going to, unless we could get a flight really early in the morning, we were going to miss out. Well, we ended up driving all the way back to Fargo, spending the night in Fargo, and flying out of Fargo at like noon, which meant it was like, what was it? Well, like 1:30 when we landed in Vegas.
Yeah, I landed about like 15-30 minutes before you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, which means the main event had already started. I think it was like round 3 was wrapping up by the time we got to the hall. So obviously I was dropped and didn't end up participating in the main event, much to my great sadness. So weekend off to a bad start. But that's all Sun Country's fault, not Fantasy Flight's.
Thursday left a really bad taste, and it was nice to be able to get there Friday and start getting some of that stuff to line up. Interestingly enough, we did message the judges, one of the judge staff, and they were having a meeting on Thursday night, and he was going to find out, hey, what do people do if they come late? Do they need to drop from the event and still get their prizes? Do they just not show up and their opponent gets a free win out of it? And so we did make sure to ask that. And Leo, if you want to talk about what happened with you on that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we messaged, talked to some of the judges, and we're basically told uh, if we just kind of report at the desk and say when we do finally get there, we were told don't drop from the event, just wait till you get there and talk to them, and they'll you'll still get your participation prizes. Just tell them that you weren't here because your flight got canceled, and they'll give them to you. So, me and the one other guy who was on our flight that was in the same situation, we went up. We talked to 2 different people. He got his stuff right away. I ended up having to like have an argument because they were like, "Well, you weren't here, so you don't get your participation prizes." And it's like, well, I paid, to be in the event. I should at least either get my money back if you're not going to give it to me, or give me my prizes. And they didn't want to give me either. But once I pointed out, hey, this guy right next to me, they just gave him his prizes. Then they relented and gave me the prizes and made it right. So, yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of. I think some things started. You could tell like the staff on site was already really overwhelmed with a lot of things because a lot of physical product that they needed to have was not um, allocated, or like the shipments didn't arrive. So the big one on day one that they got solved by day 2 was the uh,
side event too.
side event tickets, because you need a little ticket that to go get in line and participate in a side event. They only had about 25% of what they wanted to have or were told that they were going to have. So
Yeah, it sounds like
they
an entire pallet's worth of the tickets never arrived from.
right.
Wow.
So now you've got all these people wanting to participate in these events, and the the little like on-site currency you've developed for to handle this doesn't exist. There was a
Yeah.
and then I think there was just like a lanyard shortage and different things like that. So they definitely, like, a lot of the staff was already like, okay,
Yeah.
everybody's going to scramble. I think it was definitely messy at first, and then I think
Yeah.
by day 2 when they got more tickets and stuff,
Well, and
it got sort of.
even on day one, by the time we got there, because it's like after 3 by the time we get checked in to our hotel and then get over to the Venetian and stuff and get our badges and everything like that. So by the time we're actually in the event hall, it's probably like around 3 or something like that. Um, and I think they had already started to smooth out a lot of those issues compared to. I know I saw online and from talking to other folks we knew at the event who didn't have their flights canceled and were there on time. You know that the morning, like the side event line, was just massive, and there was no organization. And then this was compounded by the fact that they were out of the tickets, so they were taking people's payments at the desk as they were signing up for the events, which was only slowing things down even further. Um, and yeah, but I think as the day went on, they kind of figured out line organization a little bit better, and they started. They did. It sounds like they eventually started to get more tickets on hand because they did. Like when we picked up our badges, by that point in the day, they did have some to give to us. Um, Although I kind of
Yeah,
wish
they
they
were
hadn't
working.
because you got a little bit of a bonus, like some extra stuff if you were one of the people
Well,
who
they
delayed.
didn't have any for me, but the extras I got was, I think, a couple prize tickets and a handful of like OP
Uh,
packs from Sparker Rebellion or something.
um, but yeah, so even still showing up late, we still had time to get in a few different little side events. I think I did like a premiere pod and a Twin Suns. Um, and then I also had a chance to go over and check out the artist alley. That was cool that they had was it six different artists there. Um, and
I didn't mind coming in late and having no lines for that kind of
yeah,
stuff. That was kind
exactly.
of fun.
Most people had already gone through all of those kind of things, so there was not really anybody at the artist tables. So yeah, I was able to just stop in, take a look at that, kind of wander around through some of the other vendors and stuff. Atomic Mass Games was there. They had a little mini painting thing going on where you could paint a mini and
Yeah, that
take it.
was. I didn't know they were going to be there,
That's
so that
neat.
was cool.
Yeah.
Stopped and chatted with them for a while. Um, was there only 6 artists there, or was there maybe 7? I forget,
I
but
thought it was 6,
um,
maybe 7.
the yeah, that was neat, and I was I guess another aspect of me being new to the whole card gaming scene, I didn't know how big of a deal that was to like card gamers, because there were, on each day there were some, decent lines lined up
Yeah.
for each artist. People just signing
Yeah.
get them to sign their artwork,
I
which is
I
cool.
think you will find a big uh it's a contentious copy or a contentious topic amongst card gamers, because there are some who you know absolutely love signatures, and there are others who absolutely hate them and see them as um, you know defacing and destroying the card. Um, but even that's kind of like on a sliding scale, where it tends to be the less expensive the card is, the more like appropriate it is to get a signature versus, and then the more expensive it is, the more that putting a signature on it is kind of considered defacing. But even that, again, there's a lot of debate amongst card gamers.
Hmm. Is there any difference? It's just signatures in general, because like I know some people will get like their showcases signed by the actors who played those characters.
Yeah,
Which
signatures in general. I mean, and Star Wars is a little bit different. Like a lot of my experience comes from like the like more of the like the magic field and stuff like that, where it's like an artist signature can sometimes be desirable, but like getting like the signature of a designer or something is like it's cool for you personally, but a lot of people aren't going to want to buy that or whatever.
There's an extra step to that too, because I know a lot of people were either asking for additional art to be drawn on their cards too, which is a whole different territory and can include some of that stuff, like adding lines next to the lightsabers. Or I know I saw one card where somebody had drawn a Yoda in the actual text box because it was an empty text box, just a vanilla card. And so there was some of that stuff I've seen online too that even adds another level of diversity among what the people think.
That's cool. I like that, honestly. And I'm not really planning to sell my cards as part of it, I suppose, but that's kind of fun. We don't really get that with miniatures games. I mean, obviously, like taking it to a con, get the actor to sign or something. People have done that, but we don't have like the artist alleys usually at these like miniature gaming events. So that's really cool, in my opinion.
Speaking of the AMG paint and take, I did do a Stormtrooper model, and while I was talking to them,
the trip home.
yes, I put it in a little tiny plastic cup, and I had that wrapped in a T-shirt, admittedly. But they're like, "Oh, we have the OP packs. We have the weekly play packs for Legion," and I'm like, "Really? I definitely want that." And then when I got up there, it was for Star Wars, and I was a little disappointed.
You mean for Unlimited?
Yeah, for Unlimited, rather than the Legion ones that I think we all play Legion at some point. But there are going to be the weekly play packs for that. I really wanted one of those, and I felt my dreams were crushed.
Yeah, I don't even know when those are supposed to like come out, but
yeah, some of the cards in those packs
probably
look
sometime around
awesome.
probably sometime around when the new products all drop soon. Which I think might be in August. Yeah, the other vendors included Build-A-Bear was there, which was apparently surprisingly popular. They had all of their like Star Wars ones. When I was talking to AMG, Simone was showing me her Rancor she bought, which is apparently, I don't think it was like an event exclusive, but it was some sort of limited thing that you couldn't buy online, and when it's gone, it's gone. And
they were all gone like halfway through day one.
Yeah, I don't think we even got to see them.
There was Rancors, Wampas, the Mandalorian, some generic bears with
the Mandalorians were a panda also, which people found extremely amusing that he was a Pandalorian. Yes,
I was just kind of surprised at how popular Build-A-Bear seemed to be, because I was looking at because all the other vendors were like, we got AMG displaying their minis and doing a paint and take, and then there's obviously Gamegenic and Asmodee, and then some like card game vendors. There was one selling old TCGs and Topps trading cards, and then a place just selling various singles for different games, and then there was one or two just sort of like Star Wars collectibles place. There was a Bricks and Minifigs there that had all their Star Wars Legos, which was really cool. And then Build-A-Bear, which I was like, okay. But Build-A-Bear seemed to be like the place that was popping off the most. I'm sure they sold a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They also had a nice location facing where the play area was, so a lot of exposure.
Yeah. There was some Edge Studios or whatever. They had some Star Wars role playing game. Learn to play tables.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I saw a couple demos popping off. There was also like a little kid area where they had coloring pages of the aspect icons that I thought was cute.
And just like buckets of Legos and stuff for kids to play with. That was cool.
Yeah, there was like an area with a bunch of couches set up to watch the live stream. And then there was a bunch of sort of photo opportunity places. There was a full-size X-Wing, a Millennium Falcon cockpit you could go sit in.
A TIE Fighter.
A TIE Fighter. There was 2 or 3 R2-D2s. some like stormtrooper type pilot stuff. There's a guy walking around the whole place, just like driving a mouse droid around. Um, the only thing I didn't like about that was the space was like almost too big. Like all of those like photo opportunity cosplay type stuff was like, I don't know, like 100 feet away from the next, like all the vendors and stuff. So it was just like, oh, let me go all to the vendors, and then like, what's that in the far distance? Oh, that's a stormtrooper I can go get my picture taken with. I'm like, I don't know if I want to walk all the way over there. It's just like a distant expanse of concrete between you and like a backdrop and some. It's like,
So
I think that's why that wasn't as popular
I
as other
I
stuff.
saw a video of there right away, like Friday morning. What got someone with a VIP badge doing like a walkthrough of the floor, like right as he got in at 8 a.m. And at that point, they only had the TIE fighter set up, but nothing else in none of the other photo ops set up by that point. So it was just the TIE fighter and then a huge, like, empty expanse of concrete. It looked very much like that Dash Con ball pit meme picture where it was just like, um, it felt sort of sad just kind of sitting by itself. But eventually they added more as
Yeah,
the day went on. And
yeah. The next day, like the Falcon and the X-wing showed up, and they're really cool. It was just still this really big gap in between that stuff and the rest of it, which
it gave
obviously
people.
they're going to be in the
Yeah.
same place next year, so they got room to
They
expand.
needed
But
all that room
yeah,
for people to line up for their Boba Fett
pins.
pins.
Yeah, that was an interesting addition. They had like a pin collecting thing, which is pretty common at stuff now. Um, they had pins of all of the starter slash spotlight deck leaders, like the art with the aspect icons, and
Yep.
I think it just Star Wars Unlimited on
And
it,
then
and
the secret
Super
desktop
laser
secret
tech.
11th
super laser
pin.
technician pin.
Yeah, which you could only get if you talk to like FFG staff or designers or something. Um, so that was fun, but it was interesting because they only had a limited number of pins each day. So people were, lining up trying to get their pins, and it was the obviously it's an interesting thing because a big part of like the I think some of the negative feelings people will have has to do with the fact that certain things were in limited quantities, which made for bigger lines, especially in the last day with the prize wall.
The
Um,
game's called Unlimited.
well, that's obviously
It refers to the line length.
yeah, the like because on the last day I think I spent about 2 hours in the line for the prize wall, which I think was maybe on the low side, to get there, and they were out of a lot of the things I wanted. I
Dang.
still ended up with some playmats I'm pretty happy about, but um, it's interesting to me that that is definitely was an issue with the event, was the lines and some of that limited availability of things. But also in my head, I'm thinking the entire structure of TCGs in general is built on artificial scarcity of different things. People wouldn't play these games if Vader was as common as the Porg. So I'm just like, oh, I mean, it's different, but it's like, oh, it's sort of the same. With limiting access to something makes you want it more. So that was day one. I think that was all
By
the
the
vendors.
way, for the photos, did you guys go and take pictures with those, like the
Leo,
X-wing and stuff?
Leo and I got a picture under the TIE Fighter. I took after I got my convention exclusive, which you can see an unboxing of on our YouTube channel. I went over and took a picture of it with R2 because the box is designed like R2, and the one of the R2s would like sing the Cantina song and stuff in his beep
Yeah.
and stuff.
I've just
Basically, everybody manning any booth, like if you went up to an information booth or somebody just babysitting the photo ops, they would hand you OP packs, mostly from Jump to Lightspeed. It was as if like Fantasy Flight found like a
this is
infinite
my
warehouse of
stack of Jump to Lightspeed OP cards I came home with.
yeah. You could just walk up to like the information booth and be like, "Where's the nearest restroom?" And they're like, "It's over there." Also, here's 3 OP packs for Jump to Lightspeed.
Something to keep you occupied while you're sitting on the toilet. Yeah. So yeah, day 2 though was our first.
That's when it got real.
That was our first full day at the convention, thanks to travel shenanigans, and then that's also where you, Ryan, started your competition in the main event. There was about, what was it, 200 of you, 200 some that had the day 1 buys.
200 Ryans?
Yes, 200 Ryans.
And 1 million more well on the way.
Yeah, I think there were a total of 268 or 286, something like that.
And then it was like another 170 or
another 100 that, yeah,
that advanced from day 1 into day 2.
Actually, no. Okay, so actually on day 2, my first game was on table 183, and we were the final table, so we had extra space. So there were 366
total altogether.
Yeah, after the merge of what was going on.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it was.
I do want to talk about the thing that happened Friday night, though. So one of the features of Melee.gg is that once you close an event, all of the lists go public. So when they ended the event, people realized, okay, I now have access to all of the lists from day 1. And then they reopened the event, closing the lists, and then it happened again. And so there were a couple times up and down where you could actually go in and see the lists that did well or advanced to day 2. As a side effect of that, they chose to have all of the lists public on day 2. And unfortunately, I feel like I was one of them that negatively benefited from that, because I did have a few spicy cards and some strategies that I was planning to employ that I don't think anyone saw coming. I was using Gar ECL, but I had a few cards in there, especially in my sideboard, that people would not be expecting. Notably, I was playing Burden of Masters, and almost every one of my opponents, I could see their screen looking at that card and reading it. And numerous of them said, wow, that I did not see that coming. That is a cool card, especially with how you're using it. So I was definitely a little sad with the open deck list. It was exciting to kind of see what was doing well and things like that, but that's something that can happen later on too.
Yeah, but I mean, with the mistake they made, that's really the only choice they had, I think, right?
I agree. I think it's the most fair decision. I think it's a little unfortunate, especially that Foresight didn't see that happening or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it shouldn't have happened, but since it did, opening all the lists is really the only way forward.
Just for everybody at home, the Burden of Masters, explain what that card does and why it was so sneaky to have in your deck.
So I found in playtesting, especially against my son, there were a few key cards that I was struggling with. The Yoda unit, for example. Big beefy leaders like Kylo that would end up with like 9 health or something when he's got a lightsaber and something else. Legal authority often. And so my solution to some of those decks was to be using Burden of Masters, which is a 1-cost event where you place a force unit from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck. play a unit. And because you have to resolve the entirety of that, you get to play that unit with 2 experience tokens. And so I was playing that with Maul. So Maul comes out, he gets 2 experience tokens. When I'm playing Gar Saxon, he gets an additional +1 attack. So he is a 10-8 ambushing overwhelm. And so I was one-shotting Kylos, I was one-shotting Yoda units, and it's a great way to finish things off. There were definitively 3 games throughout that day that I won just from that play. And if you draw them early, you can resource them. You can always rely on the other ones in your deck. Or maybe the situation doesn't present itself and you're able to go full aggro, things like that. But it was a nice kind of spice that I was playing that I didn't see in anyone else's deck.
That's cool.
So naturally, I was a little sad that it got spoiled and other people were able to see it coming a little bit better.
But overall, you did not make it to day 3, but how did you do overall?
So I believe I ended 5-2-1. I did miss it out just on that one draw or a win, I guess play better, things like that. I'm very happy with how that day went in general, especially because of how poorly the weekend started out. Anything is better than that. I think I definitely am not sad with how I did. It was a lot of competition for those spots. I can go back and look at several mistakes, but hey, those are learning opportunities. The number of decks I played, I was a little sad. I was there to play Hans, but I only ended up with 1 out of all 8 of the games, and of course that's
Which was
one that I won.
Statistically unlikely, because I
Yep.
think the breakdown was like a whole quarter of everybody was playing Han.
Yeah, every time I looked, there was a Han to my left or right, and I'm like, why couldn't I get them? But it just wasn't in the cards, and sometimes the games you play aren't the ones you want. You just do the best you can.
Yeah, and I think overall, I mean, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about how the, for like I said, there's been a lot of complaints about various things on Reddit and whatnot about aspects of the event, but I don't think I really saw anybody making any complaints about how the main event was run or handled, or like any of the casting. The casting was, I think, phenomenal. That there was a couple little things. I know during day 1 they had some issues with one of the cameras shaking or jiggling, which it sounds like they mostly took care of for day 2 and 3. And there was a couple other things like I would have designed the overlay for the stream a little bit differently, and I think a lot of people agreed that the actual view of the gameplay was not as big as it should be. Should have taken up a little bit more of the screen than it did. But
having played in day 2, I didn't get to see a whole lot of the casting, but the feedback about it was very minimal, and it sounded like it was pretty good quality.
Yeah. Well, and like we did go back to skipping ahead to day 3. We went back to Joe's room and watched the stream in his hotel room for the top 4 matches. And like I said, it was all really phenomenal. It was crazy how high of a production value we actually had. I mean, it wasn't quite to like Magic Pro Tour levels, but it was
Or
close.
Fargo PQ.
Yeah, not quite up to the Jodo Cast Fargo PQ streams, but very, very close.
There was no trivia or anything like that.
No, they like weirdly like stayed super on topic the whole time, which is kind of an odd choice on their
Yeah,
part.
they didn't want to digress all over the place. I thought we talked.
They paid attention.
I talked to Dan, Dan from Main Deck, who was one of the casters, who also happens to be from Fargo. like we are. Talked to him a bit too because we know him, and he was telling me like even he was surprised at how high the production ended up being. Like they were doing, he had someone doing makeup and hair for him, and wardrobe and things like that, and he was not expecting any of that going into this. So, um, but I think,
I mean, yeah, that's really cool, and it's exciting because they obviously have a lot of, uh, they're expecting it's just to get bigger and bigger each year.
mhm. Well, and I think putting that production value into the part of the event that you're showing to all the rest of the world is important, because it's something that they're going to look and say, okay, this is pretty slick, and I think can only help grow the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only complaint about the thing is you got to pronounce Star Wars characters' names right. Come on, Kurt and I would have got it right.
um,
What
And
ones did they mess up?
I just specifically remember in the finals, one of
Talzine.
the guys kept called Talzine.
Kept calling Talzine.
Brother Talzine.
And well,
as long as we're doing that, we got to make fun of him about getting the set name wrong, I think.
oh yeah, didn't someone?
Spark of the Republic.
Yeah, he said like Spark of Republic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doa, come on.
They've been doing that for a few days straight, so I'll give them a little slack. I've been there.
Yeah, because I mean they'd start casting, at like, what was it, like like 9:30 or something like that, and they'd get done not
Yeah,
until like almost 10. So
I can understand why they had 3 that they would rotate, so each one
That was
got,
nice.
like, a break every once in a while. Because yeah, I can't imagine doing that for 3 days straight. That's so much.
yeah.
I did think of a couple other things I wanted to talk about day 2 if we're done with
Let's
casting.
do it.
All right. So at the beginning of day 2, I was in one of the lines and somebody came around. It was announcing or handing out these little bags, like goodie bags, but they were for the quiet room that was in the basement.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know much about me, but I have mild autistic tendencies. And so the noise really gets to me, and a lot of the lights and everything like that. In fact, playing at near the stage got bothersome unless I was the first one to the table and I got to choose my table side. That way I wasn't facing the stage with the lights. And so they had these little bags with like a sucker and a pop-it thing and some earplugs that people could use. When I play in those big events, I wear my loops. Did have one opponent who kind of quizzed me on that, like, those aren't headphones, are they? You can't be using those. And we're like, no, they're not electronic, they're loops, they're for volume control and intensity and stuff like that. So that was kind of a cool thing, and I thought it was kind of progressive of them to have that quiet
that
room
was
in the basement.
I think that was they were from the Asmodee booth, because they came by on Saturday morning too when we were over at our little content creator areas. No, it was on the last day.
On Sunday.
I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came. They were, at least the people who came by us. They were from the Asmodee booth, and I think that must have been who put together those things. And I agree, that was really cool. They also had like a lens wipe, which was really handy for us bespectacled folk. Yeah, that was cool. I think hopefully more conventions start doing that.
Other things I thought of for day 2 were since there was so much emphasis on the side events and kind of the worry about, hey, am I even gonna get a showcase? Like, when am I gonna get my event tickets? There was a little bit of a distraction, an artificial distraction there, and maybe that affected my play or other people's play. And there's always that worry in the back, like, when do I get to be in the line for that? And so that was a little bothersome. And then I did have one round go to time, and I distinctly remember in that round we couldn't even get a judge. There wasn't anybody coming over to check on us or anything like that, and so we ended up just reporting the draw ourselves, when I would have really expected a judge to be there for any game that's going to be going to time.
Yeah.
And when I looked around, there was so many trying to get the side events organized and going, and maybe they could have done a little bit better with ensuring you judges are responsible for this specific event,
Yeah,
and
I
or
think
organizing the judges a little bit better.
the side event stuff got so. I think there was not enough like planning ahead of time that a lot of it was happening on the spot, even after their ticket situation got uh, sorted out. That they were looping in a lot of the judge staff to help, just get lines organized and get people funneled where they
Yeah.
needed to go, and then get them from the like registration to the fine table space and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And they were constantly changing things too on how
yeah, I think
things
the
are being
way.
run. Like like I know from day 1 to day 2 they changed some stuff to try and make things run more smoothly. But even just depending on like what judge or what staff member you talk to at any given time, um, you could get totally different answers for stuff. Um, like I know sometimes some of the staff would let you essentially queue up events. Like you would go up and you'd say, "Okay, here I've got my Twin Sons pod of 4. That's 800 tickets to fire off a Twin Sons pod." But you could be like, for some people, you could be like, "Here is uh, 2,400 tickets. We want to just do 3 pods right in a row, bam, 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 bam," and they would let you do that. Some would, but some would not, and they'd be like, "No, you gotta go back through the whole system." Um, and some would say, and some would say, "Well, if you have a pot of 4, don't worry about standing in line. You still got to go up to the counter, but you can skip the line." Other people were saying, "No, you got to get back in line." Um,
Yeah, because on day one there was a different line for because there was like win a box, Premier Pod, Sealed, Draft, Twin Sons, and on day one those all had separate lines. Like, oh, I want to do this, I'm going to get in the line for that. On day two, there was basically a one line for Premier Pod and one line for everything else. And let's say you wanted to play Twin Sons, but you only had 2 of you, you'd get in the everything else line, and by the time you got to the front you'd be like, I'm here to play Twin Sons, and you just kind of wait there until 2 more people in the same situation showed up to make that 4. Whereas where we had 4, we would,
yeah,
like Leo was saying, most of the time we'd be able to just go right up to the specific Twin Sons slot in the counter to get our stuff fired off. But sometimes they'd be like, no, you got to wait through that huge everybody else line, even though you already have 4 people for Twin Sons. So it was kind of inconsistent, and there was, I think, this line management
yeah.
and sort of
Well,
that sort of
and
thing was
and
definitely
and just
not
in
hammered out.
and just in general, I think if you had a pod of the required number of people for whatever event you wanted to fire off, things went pretty smoothly. You could get through the line pretty quick. Um, but if you didn't have the required number, there just wasn't. It didn't seem like there was staff caring. Oh, I shouldn't say that they weren't caring. Not that they weren't caring, but there were so many ready to go pods that you sort of ended up getting pushed over to the wayside if you didn't have the number of people you
That's why I
needed.
thought it was on day one when they had a separate line for each type. That made that not a problem, because if I'm by myself and I want to draft, if I'm in the draft only line, now 7 other people show up, boom, they know that's a full pod. Whereas I think they changed it because that took up a lot of square footage, having all those separate lines split up,
Yeah.
and it was jamming up the space over there. So they changed the way the lines were working, and I think that helped foot traffic. But then it created this other issue you were saying, where if you don't have a full pod, you ended up kind of spending more time in that, like, hope somebody else wants to do this line.
Yeah, I think it ended up they it ended up kind of putting it on the participants themselves to like run up and down the line and try and find their own people to like, they'd be like, hey, I'm up in front, I still need a couple more for my pod, do you want to who wants to join? And hopefully you find some people that way. But rather than it being the organizers kind of taking responsibility to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and this was the biggest event Fantasy Flight Games has ever done in their entire history, which is cool. And like we were saying at the beginning, it was still immensely fun. And it's just like, hopefully there's a few, and some of it was based on like physical supplies not being ready, but a lot of it was just like, oh, maybe
Joe
there was
died on
some,
us.
Okay. I want to follow up his point though. For as much complaining and feedback people are giving, I want to know how many of those are going to legitimately say, I didn't get all of the promos or the stuff that I came for. Because I can say, even as somebody who missed half a day, played in day 2 only with a moderate performance, I was able to get everything I wanted. I even got more than the minimum I was expecting and hoping for.
To your point though, I think you bought a lot of stuff on day 2, I think towards the end of the day 2, if I remember right. But there was a lot of people, I think, who were still stacking tickets all through day 2, and we're also trying to get more tickets into day 3, only to end up getting in the line later in the day in day 3. And by the time they got up there, super laser blasts were gone, Darth Vader for sure was gone. A lot of the other promos were gone. So I think there were people who ended up only getting like playmats and stuff.
Yeah, I was so I didn't get nearly as many tickets as the rest of you guys, or just a lot of players in general, because I wasn't um, obviously I wasn't in the main event, and I wasn't playing as many side events as other people. So I was like, okay. By the way, I did get the 2 things that I said I want to walk away with this event with: the convention exclusive droid pack and Ezra Bridger from the silver packs. I did walk away with those because I traded Ryan for an Ezra on right away, and then I got in for the convention exclusive. So I at least got that. Very happy with that. So I'm like, okay, well, besides that, I guess I'm just going to try and mash out these silver tickets, because this might be my best chance to just pull a Darth Vader card. And
did you?
No. Not out of a silver pack. I actually got a standard one out of a regular pack when we were playing, casual sealed, which was exciting. So I was like, okay, let's see how many silver packs I can get. And then, like you were saying, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to stack these up. I got 2 of them on Saturday. And then for Sunday, I was like, well, I'm just going to, get as much tickets as I can before I go in this line, because I could have gone in the line and then I'm like, I don't want to go through this line and then go through it again. So I'm just going to wait and see how much I get. And so by the time I got in the line, the line was already really big. I think I probably spent less time in it than other people. But by the time I got up there, I was like, okay, I've got enough for 2 more silver packs and maybe like a single Chewbacca card. That'll be nice. And by the time I got up there, everything was out. The only like single cards they had left was Razor Crest. No more silver packs, so I ended up getting 2 playmats, which I think are pretty sexy, but wasn't what I was expecting to get when I went up in that line, because I was like, I already got enough playmats. That was a little disappointing to see, like, just the demand for those prizes. I don't know how you track or like begin to estimate how much supply you have versus how many prize tickets you put out versus how many players exist versus how many people are that's a logistical nightmare that I can't even comprehend. But to run out of those things, before noon on Sunday, when there's seemingly half the crowd in this one line. It was uh, it was like they had to rearrange the whole line because it was about to snake into itself, and I think they were worried that if the end of the line touched the middle of the line, we would all disappear.
Um, well, I think there was a few things where, and I should say, I also was lucky enough. I got almost everything I wanted. I got all the single promos, and then I was able to buy a couple silver packs on Saturday. But then Sunday, my plan was to. I ended up going into Sunday. I had 700 tickets, which was not which was 100 shy of being able to get another silver pack. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play a few events, get enough to get a couple more silver packs, and call it a weekend. Which is so I started playing a couple events, and I still had side event tickets to spend, but you could also just turn those in at the prize desk for prize tickets, which is a whole nother thing. um, but but eventually I made the decision to stop playing way earlier than I actually wanted to stop playing, to go get in line for prizes, because I was like, I don't know if there's going to be silver packs left, because I had enough tickets in hand to get 2 more silver packs, plus maybe like
I
2 more
was like,
promo cards.
at that
Uh,
point when you did that, I had enough for like one, and I'm like, well, if I do one more event, I'll have enough for 2, so I might as
yeah.
well like get up to 2 before I go get in the line.
But yeah, I was still about I don't know, when I was still probably about 15-20 minutes from the front of the line, they announced that they were out of silver packs at that point. So didn't get my silver packs. They got some other stuff, which is, it's not what I wanted to spend those last tickets on. But it is what it is. Um, I don't know. And I don't know what the exact solution is here. I heard wild stories about people buying just massive stacks of certain promos at a time. People going and buying like 50 super laser blasts or whatever, buying dozens of the showcases at a time. Um, I don't know how much of that's true. I wasn't there to see it. Um, People standing in line pass stories down the line, and they get bigger and less true the further down the line they go. I've discovered. So, um, I any of those stories I kind of take with a grain of salt, but it's pretty clear there were some people who were um, buying massive quantities of these things, and I think somewhat taking advantage of the system in that they were letting you could buy the side event tickets and then just walk over to the prize wall and just exchange those without ever going and playing any events to get prizes. Um, Granted, you got a better exchange rate playing the events, most of the events
Yeah,
anyways.
it's like
But
mining. You
yeah,
could just get your ticket and turn it in, or you could sit there and forge it into something more valuable by just putting in the gameplay hours.
but I definitely did walk by the table at one point, and I saw a guy with a stack of side event tickets this tall, and he's just pulling some out, setting them down, getting the thing, pull the next set out, and he had a huge stack of them.
It's
Um,
very interesting to me.
and
Um,
I don't know, that's just sort of against the whole spirit of the thing. I think if they just let you buy the event tickets and then turn those into prizes without doing any kind of event in between there. But
yeah,
then again, I also witnessed multiple different times pods of people would sit down for an event, because a lot of those, they would come around and they'd be like, here's your participation tickets, and then here's the tickets to give to the winner of your little pod or whatever. Um, and then everyone, as soon as the judge would walk away, they would just scoop up and go get back to register for another event too. So
Right.
without ever
That's
actually
what's
playing.
interesting to me is the whole system, because it's similar at like Adepticon or whatever with the miniatures games. They have a prize wall with tickets, and you're all you want to play the games, but you also in the back of your mind go, well, I'm only here for a couple days. I know the exchange rate, and people are figuring out, well, which of these events pays out the most for the least amount of time, so I can get the maximum amount of tickets to get the things I want, which is always a little weird but understandable. And I saw that really just amplified here because the trading card game nature, like it does happen with the miniatures games ones where someone's like, well, I'm going to get this card and sell it on eBay and recoup the cost of my trip here. But like that's not like something that's like inherent in the mini gamer psyche. Whereas here, so many people are like, well, I need to like, I'm going to get in line. We're going to do this pod. We're going to split up these things, and I'm going to turn around, get in line, go get as much of these things as possible because I know I'm going to be able to flip these for like $100 a piece or whatever. And it definitely has like a weird, like, I don't know what you do about it. I think one, you could limit the number of items somebody can redeem. Like, well, you can only grab one Darth Vader promo at a time, buddy. Sorry. Because they do that with the convention exclusive, the thing people are paying $100 for. They don't let them buy more than one. But it was interesting because I think the need and the desire to get those cool things is sort of at odds with like wanting to sit down and have a fun weekend playing games, because you're sitting there playing games, which is super fun. Like I played so much Twin Suns, which I hadn't played Twin Suns in over a year, and I'm so glad I got to play so much Twin Suns because it's such a blast. And but you're sitting there and you're like, well, we got to get through this so that we can do it again and get more tickets
Yeah.
because things are running out.
Yeah,
And the
sometimes you're making different decisions than you would in a normal Twin Sons game, where like someone's all like, "No, no, no, don't kill me yet. Let's do this funny thing," and you're like, "I want to go get more tickets. I'm gonna kill you."
I got told
yeah,
every game to slow down. I'm pretty sure that's
Well,
because my Twin Sons deck was not
is the
normal, and it was.
sweatiest Twin Sons deck I've ever seen.
It is. Yep.
I learned that
uh,
if we play with plus 10 health on everybody's base, the Kanan Hera is incredible. Because then you have just enough time to get all the Spectre space units out, and it becomes ridiculous. But yeah, that was just kind of a weird like juxtaposition, because I don't think you can't like they had no way to like police stuff, and it's obviously good that people are like, oh, the winner gets 400 and there's 400 or four of us. Why not everybody get one? That's perfectly fine with me of like splitting things equally, but um, there's less of an incentive to play and more of an incentive to like grind, which
yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting facet of like the structure of the event, and I don't
Yeah.
know
They
what.
did. They did preserve some of the Luke and Vader showcases. I know they set some of those aside for the enough for the day 3 participants, so they could get those since they were busy grinding. I don't know about other promos or anything, but I know they did set aside the.
They must have had some, because we heard from one of the judges. They all the judges got a good chunk of silver packs when all is said and done, which was well after the rest of us were told that they were out. So obviously they had a bunch like, okay, these we're holding on specifically for
Some judges got a
judges.
good chunk of silver packs. Some
Yeah.
judges. It sounds like it was based on conversations with different judges. Depends on what time of the evening you were there at, when whether you got them distributed to you or not. So, which again, I think a lot of their problems just comes down to it was their first time doing something this big, um, and they were running some stuff similarly to how they have at much smaller events, And I just think those systems just snapped under the weight of how many people were trying to go through them.
And it
And
was
I think it's a lot of this stuff is things that are definitely correctable and changeable. And from speaking to Fantasy Flight employees over the weekend, I think they definitely heard a lot of this feedback at the event. And they're going to be hearing more here
Yep.
post event. And they seem to be taking a lot of it to heart. And so I really hope that next year, which is going to be at the Venetian next at the end of July again next year, I hope that they do what they say and take some of these lessons to heart and do a few things to improve the event. I think
I have
one
no doubt that
big
they
thing
will.
would be I think utilizing the badges more to put put some limitations on stuff. Like we were limited to, like you said, one droid pack per person. I feel like the knowing how much the Vader and Luke showcases were going to be sought after, there probably should have been some kind of limit on those, per badge. And even like some of the other promos, I would not have minded to see, like, obviously a higher limit than like the showcases, but I heard stories of people buying like 50 super laser blasts. Like I said, I don't know how true that really is, but if it's true that someone really did buy that many, and there's all kinds of people who wanted them that never did, I don't know.
What about Joe
That's fair.
Tyrannus too? I mean,
Yeah,
that's an easily trackable one per person.
Yeah, the Tyrannus one, they had nothing, and you could just keep going back up and getting that over and over and over and over again if you wanted to, especially later once the lines died down and they still had stacks. I don't know. I guess other than maybe you having eventually the guys at the booth recognizing you and telling you no more, but who knows? But again, like I said, I think overall, and the weekend was a good one. And granted, I'm not one of those people who got stiffed on the prizes I wanted, so maybe I would feel differently um, if I was. But I think overall, let's see. I think the last thing just the last couple things is you did a panel, Joe.
Yeah,
There was some panels, and one
uh,
was you were one of the speakers at it.
yeah. So there was a number of panels throughout the weekend, which I thought was cool because, like I said, it was more of like a convention than just like a tournament. And so there was a number of panels. I only managed to sit through two of them. One was the one before mine, which I have uploaded to YouTube, and one was the one I was on, which is also uploaded on YouTube if you're interested in seeing it. It was about building a community. There was originally meant to be four other people on it with me. Two of them couldn't make it, so it was me, Mike from Unplayable, and then Jack, the community manager at Fantasy Flight, was sort of the moderator, asking us questions. And I didn't really know exactly how it was going to go. I didn't know what to expect. I've never done that before. And it turned out to be, I think it went really well. There was way more people than I thought. I was going to be surprised if there was like six people who showed up because, you could be playing unlimited and, getting your prize tickets and doing all sorts of stuff. You don't need to be sitting here listening to me talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But the room was pretty full. I don't know. There must have been.
There was a surprising number of like store owners, store employees at that
Yeah.
panel, and I think that's there was also a little bit of disconnect in the hosts and moderators versus some of that audience,
Yeah, the
because I think
Q&A
you
turned
guys,
into
yeah, because you guys were kind of coming at it from a point of view of fans and players of the games just trying to, you know, grow a community yourself in the store. Whereas I
Right.
think,
Whether it be an online community or
yeah,
like just a community of unlimited players in your area. And I think
whereas yeah, I think some of those guys were store owners hoping they were going to be like, here's what Fantasy Flight's going to do to help your store grow communities. But
right. That's kind of what the QA ended up. There's some people being like, "Well, Asmodee doesn't communicate this well enough," and it was like, "That's got nothing to do with why I'm here." But luckily, the guy at the door running like checking people in was like uh, a higher up kind of guy at Asmodee, so he's like, "We'll talk after." But and
yeah,
attending the panels, you got the promos for the alt art clone droid X-wing Tie Fighter tokens,
those
which
are
were very
really,
pretty.
really good looking tokens. I like those.
Yeah,
Best
so
tokens I've ever seen. Oh, second best. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Watch it there. Um,
yeah, so I
oh,
thought the panel went really well. I
yeah.
ended up having a lot of fun, and I thought that hopefully I get to do that again next year because that was a good time. I
Um,
wish I had been able to attend some of the other panels, but I spent a lot of time in line and stuff.
one thing that was really cool is actually that the all the travel problems we had paid off in a tiny little way in the
Yeah.
fact that um, uh, me and Ryan were waiting around Saturday morning to get his for the registration desk to open up so he could pick up. What'd you have to get from there? Your swag for day two
Well, they ended up
buy.
separating the day one buy prizes into 3 different sections, and so you had to pick them up separately. And there was a lunch that I was invited to for having the day one buy, and because we got in late, I missed the lunch, so I had to look into that.
That's right. That's right. So we were waiting for the registration desk to open up, and Eric, I forget his last name. He's the director at TCGs. Um, came by and was like just talking to some of the people sitting in these chairs in this lobby area. Came up and talked to me and Ryan and was asked us how the weekend was going, and we ended up telling him our sob story about our travel woes, and he's all like, "Oh wow, that's really bad." He's all like, "Here, this here to help make it up to you," and he gave us each one of the acrylic bases that were part of the VIP package. So he let us each pick one of those out, which was really, really awesome. They're really cool. They're
And I
because
wish
they're
that I assume those. I guess I didn't get to hold any in person, but I assume those are kind of like the old back in the day. AM or Fantasy Flight used to do acrylic promos for a lot of their miniature
yeah,
games.
similar. I think they're a little bit
Thicker.
thicker than a lot of those like Legion ones were and stuff. But
But more than like twice a credit card,
yeah, like 2.5 credit cards.
because that's it's something I'm surprised we haven't seen more of up to this point with bases and leaders.
Yeah.
Because the two cards that don't have to go in your deck, you could do whatever you want with those promo wise. Um, so I hope that I don't know people
Yeah.
like those and they do more things like that.
Be careful how much you wish for. Eventually, we'll be getting like prop clothing embedded into the cards and stuff like
Little scratch
um,
and sniff,
Yeah.
Chewbacca.
let's see what else. So day 3, like I said, we played some events. We waited in line for way too long for our prizes. We did get to see our first galactic champion for the game be crowned. Philip
From Poland.
Skudleric. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. Yes, he from Poland. He was running Talzin Red. Um,
Man,
those
that
the
final
finals
match was
match
really
was
because it went to game 3 and it came down to like, does
One
he draw
action.
this card or does he
Yeah.
not draw this card? So that was about as entertaining as a match could have gone, I think.
yeah. I think it was pretty much, or it was. I think it was to the point where it was. Did he have a blaster in his resource row? Is
Right.
what I think he needed,
Oh, okay.
if I remember right, or to draw something else similar. They also gave us our first look at Secrets of Power,
Hype.
during there. Yeah. So we got to see a couple of the new mechanics, take a look at our spotlight leaders, a small handful of units and things like that. That all looks really cool. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that because I think we might record a separate episode later just about Secrets of Power and that. But yeah, then that kind of wrapped up our weekend.
I learned that Nevada must be the last place in the country that still allows indoor smoking. I had to walk through the casino every morning to get to the. The cool thing about it being at the Venetian was I never had to step outside once that whole weekend. People were. I got back to work and people were like, "How was Vegas?" I was like, "I don't know. I was in one building the whole time." Uh, but I had to walk through the casino and there's always people like smoking at the tables and slot machines. I was like, "Well, that's something I haven't like experienced since I was like 5."
Just in general, like people watching in Vegas is very entertaining. There's
Definitely. I
People
mean, just
watching.
like I said, I was never barely even outside that building the whole weekend, but it was definitely a very strange place.
That fake
and
ceiling was phenomenal
oh yeah, when you were in
on the
like the
terrace.
shopping
Yeah,
area and stuff, yeah, that
Mhm.
was really cool. Me and Ryan, we stayed at the Link, which is right next door to the Venetian. So we did have like a 5 minute walk or so every morning and evening. In the evenings, it wasn't so bad, but um, or in the morning. Well, actually, in the morning and the evening, it wasn't so bad. But like the first day on Friday when we got there in the middle of the day, so we had to go walk outdoors at like 2 in the afternoon. That was brutal. Like just
Yeah, when
I was just drenched in sweat
I
it
was
in
was.
those
like,
like
do
5 minutes.
I was like, maybe do I miss Tucson weather? Because it's been like thunderstorming all summer and it's been so humid. I'm like, do I miss the desert? And then I got there, I'm like, nah, I don't. I will once it's January again, but for now, I don't. So it was a lot of fun. Despite any issues that came up, I think it was still like a really incredible weekend. It's cool to meet. We had a Jodo cast meetup. It was just fun to see so many people we've only talked to on our Discord, just meet them in person. Shout out to Seth and Oddball and well, you see Andy in person all the time, but I feel I don't want to miss somebody, but I feel like uh, anyway. So if I missed you, sorry, but it was nice seeing you. It was a really great time. I'm excited to hopefully do that all again next year.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure. I don't know if like I might see if I could get to be a panelist next time with you, Joe, to save
yeah,
a
we
little bit of
gotta.
money if I want to go again. Because yeah, flights and hotels in Vegas, even the cheap ones ain't cheap. And everything else, food and everything, so expensive. So if you want to go next year, start saving and budgeting now.
I have a
Mhm.
request for your listeners. There was one goal from this trip that I did not accomplish. I didn't get my hands on any cool foreign language cards. I
I
did end up looking, but nobody brought any of their like just good rares or some of the bulk stuff. And I know back with the old Star Wars CCG, those Japanese packs were gold. And
Yeah. Well, and
I
even
that's a
even
good.
even with Magic, it used to not be all that unusual to find Japanese or some other language a booster box. Like a store having a booster box of another language. I've never seen that with Star Wars, to be honest. But
put
yeah,
it on the
it would
prize
be.
wall, or if you're coming from another country, bring some. We want
Yeah,
to
I
see
would. I
that
That
would
would have
stuff.
love to
been
get my hands on some.
because I talked to a lot of German guys that
Yeah.
weekend, and I was like, I don't know if they even have like randos on them, but I was like, oh, I like to. I used to get German cards for the X-wing and Legion and stuff. Um, it's like in the Legion like OP packs because they would have all the extra languages. I'd be like, I'll take the German cards. That's good with Peplu's Wild Ride. It says Peplu's Wilde fart.
So that's my
if
request, is
you got cards that
bring 'em.
aren't in English, let us know on the JodoCast Discord, and we'll set up some trades or something.
Or join us for our Star Wars Unlimited webcam league that I don't know exactly when this is going to publish, but I believe August 11th is going to be the first day of play for the new season of our webcam league. So join up on the Discord there. And there's a league discussion channel. Pop in there and let us know that you'd like to join up and play. It's completely free. We're going to be giving out some 3D printed Force tokens that another member of the Discord is going to be printing for us. And that's going to be the prize. The main prize. We might also have some other prizes in addition to that too. So join up and see.
Have you
Yeah,
started
it's been-
designing the spy token?
What?
Have you started the next spy token? Have you started
I
designing that?
have been thinking about it. I started actually envisioning like Star Wars versions of like the spy versus spy characters from
Okay.
the old Mad magazines. That's the first thing that popped in my head. I might have something else. We'll see where we go with it. But that just popped in my head while I was sitting in the Secrets of Power panel. So
Okay.
he does. Oh, you know what? That's perfect. That's
And
perfect.
he is like a spy.
He did have the spy trait in the Star Wars CCG.
So did the Ichuta robot, E3PO.
Oh yeah, he
Android or droid, yeah.
When are we going to get an Ichuta event?
did.
Canceled event.
The first ever like reactionary card in the game.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this. If you were at the Galactic Championship, let us know in the YouTube comments or come over to our Discord and talk about it there. If you had anything fun or exciting you want to share, let us know, because there was a lot going on, and I'm sure a lot of people did a lot of cool things that we don't know about.
And Ryan, anything you want to shout out before we go?
It's gonna get better. Every year is gonna be a trip and an improvement.
100%.